Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of First Chronicles, the 22nd chapter. David prepares for temple building. Now, we know that it was King Solomon that built the temple of the Lord. However, there were a lot of the materials, the gold, the silver, the brass, and even the design that Solomon used that came actually from David, because it was originally King David's intent to build a house to the Lord, but the Lord told him that it would rather be built by his son Solomon. And so David, before dying, prepared, and made preparations, you could say, for the building, so that it would go well with his son Solomon in actually completing that building. First Chronicles 22:1. Then David said, "This is the house of the Lord Yahweh, and this is the altar of the burnt offering for Israel." And David commanded to gather together the strangers that were in the land of Israel, and he set masons to hew wrought stones to build the house of God. And let's look into this, and let's look at this in another translation. NLT, it says, "So David gave orders to call together the foreigners living in Israel, and he assigned them the task of preparing finished stone for building the temple of God." And then let's look into the word strangers here. And typically you have, you have your gar, which is a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer, and lacking inherited rights of foreigners in Israel. So, you could say that there were those in Israel that David set up, to be masons, to basically prepare stones that can be used in the building of the house of the Lord. And David prepared iron in abundance for the nails, for the doors of the gates, and for the joinings, and brass in abundance without weight. Also cedar trees in abundance for the Zidonians, and they of Tyre or Tyre brought much cedar wood to David. So they supplied David with enough that he needed. And David said, "Solomon my son is young and tender, and the house that is to be builded for the Lord must be exceeding magnifical." So this temple that we're going to build, because remember, it's technically a house for the Lord. So this temple has to be immaculate. It has to be great, both in fame and of glory throughout all countries. So it got to be so great that there's nothing else out there like it. "I will therefore now make preparation for it." So David prepared abundantly before his death. Then he called for Solomon his son, and charged him to build an house for the Lord Yahweh God of Israel. So he gave Solomon a commandment, right? That, hey, your job is to do this. And David said to Solomon, "My son, as for me, it was in my mind to build an house unto the name of the Lord Yahweh my God. But the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Thou hast shed blood abundantly, and hast made great wars. Thou shalt not build an house unto my name, because thou hast shed much blood upon the earth in my sight. Behold, a son shall be born to thee." And this was because, not that, David was just wickedly killing people, but because he was a man of war. Most of his life was war, in battle, So he had shed a lot of blood, and the Lord said, I want not you, but your son to do this. So as David continues to tell Solomon, "Behold, a son shall be born to thee, who shall be a man of rest, and I will give him rest from all his enemies round about. For his name shall be Solomon, and I will give peace and quietness onto Israel in his days. So that's a nomen omen. Okay, it's interesting here that the Lord told him his name would be Solomon. That's probably why he called him Solomon, right? Shalomah, which means peace. So nomen omen. That's why the Lord said he would be called Solomon, because during his days, the Lord was going to bring peace to Israel. Similarly, the Lord gave the name Yahushai, right, to the angel to tell Joseph and Mary, because that was also a nomen omen. Verse 20, he shall build an house for my name, and he will be my son, and I will be his father. And I will establish the throne of his kingdom over Israel forever. See? So going back to what we read in a previous chapter, this is what the Lord said concerning Solomon, the son of David, which also foreshadows or gives you insight, I should say, to the deeper spiritual meaning, right? Which is that the spirit in Solomon was that of the Messiah. So truly he was the actual son, right? The first begotten, or the only begotten of the Father. And that's why his throne will, or his kingdom was going to be forever. Now, my son, the Lord Yahweh be with thee, and prosper thou. So this is David speaking to Solomon. And prosper thou, and build the house of the Lord Yahweh thy God, as he hath said of thee. Only the Lord give thee wisdom and understanding, and give thee charge concerning Israel, that thou mayest keep the law of the Lord Yahweh thy God. So, in addition to that, may the Lord bless you with wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and give you authority, to be able to keep Israel in line, to follow the laws of the Lord. And if you do that, then shalt thou prosper, if thou takest heed to fulfill the statutes and judgments which the Lord Yahweh charged Moses with concerning Israel, to the laws, statutes, and commandments that you have today, right, in the Torah. Keep those and cause the people to follow them, and the Lord is going to make you prosper. Be strong and of good courage. Dread not, nor be dismayed. Now, behold, in my trouble I have prepared for the house of the Lord Yahweh 100,000 talents of gold, and 1,000,000, that's 1,000,000 talents of silver, and of brass and iron without weight. For it is in abundance. Timber also and stone have I prepared, that thou mayest add thereto. So David, once again, laying the groundwork of the materials and stuff that would be dedicated for the temple, the use of the temple, to make it easier for Solomon to continue from there. Moreover, there are workmen with thee in abundance, hewers and workers of stone and timber. So these would be those that would cut down trees. Then you had those that were like masons, carpenters, even architects, and all manner of cunning men for every manner of work. So whether it's fabric making or construction work, all those things, you had people for that. Of the gold, the silver, and the brass, and the iron, there is no number, meaning it was too much to number. Arise therefore and be doing, and the Lord Yahweh be with thee. David also commanded all the princes of Israel to help Solomon his son, saying, Is not the Lord Yahweh your God with you? And hath he not given you rest on every side? For he hath given the inhabitants of the land into mine hand, and the land is subdued before the Lord Yahweh and before his people. Right? So the Lord gave us the upper hand to take out those that were dwelling in here and take over this land for us and our God. And here we are dwelling on it this day. Now set your heart and your soul to seek the Lord Yahweh your God. Arise therefore and build ye the sanctuary of the Lord Yahweh, to bring and that's the temple, to bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and the holy vessels of God into the house that is to be built to the name of the Lord Yahweh. And this was the exhortation and charge that David charged Solomon with, or the responsibility of building that temple for the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And that brings us to the end of 1 Chronicles, the 22nd chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachak Kodesh. Until next time, Shalom.